Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of No Limits. My name is Scott Morgan of Motor City Mad Mouth. Glad to be joined by Candy Ebling. Candy, you ready for another great broadcast?
I'm ready, and this is the first one that we're doing Zoom in video like this together.
You're on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Folks, you want to go ahead and subscribe, never too late. The more you subscribe, you'll have access to all our broadcasts. And yes, this is our first No Limits. Looking forward to doing it. Candace, what do we got?
And ironically, we're going to be talking about technology. Look at that. It goes hand in hand. A Zoom and technology.
Yeah, the only Zoom I've ever known is what I do on the interstates, and I'm looking forward to taking that I-95 all the way up to see the Detroit Lions and the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Sunday, but looking forward to going up there. But we have a lot of broadcasts to do tonight, and this is one I'm certainly have a love-hate relationship with this broadcast. Everybody that knows me understands this situation in terms of technology. Don't give me that one stuff. It is what it is.
Well, technology has certainly played an important role in our life, and it's changed how we view things, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's revolutionized our world and our daily lives. It's created amazing tools and resources and put the useful information at our fingertips.
Yeah, I remember when we first started going out, you talked about having these little cell phones in our hands, like these portable computers. Oh, yeah.
Isn't it crazy?
Totally. I remember the first cell phone I ever saw was when I was playing Little League Baseball. No umpires ever showed up. One of my coaches had a cell phone, but it was mounted into the car, and they had to find a way to get umpires out there. We got the game in, they got the umpires. I didn't even know such a thing existed. Now look what we have. Zillions of them, everybody in there. The only ones that don't have them are animals with cell phones. Other than that, we're all animals in a different manner utilizing these electronic devices.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. 4 in 10 seniors now own smartphones. It's more than doubled since 2013. Pretty amazing.
Totally.
Did you know that the amount of active web users globally is now near 3.2 billion people? That's almost half of the world's population.
Yeah, that does blow me away. Hard to believe that no wonder the internet connections are never great because you have that many people on them.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they're saying now that every day, 2 million smartphones are sold around the world.
I believe that. Amazingly enough, you talk about 2 million smartphones. What about the fact that people just had the old flip phones and the other phones anyways without the smartphones?
But that's even technology. I mean, remember growing up, how did you used to call, let's say you wanted to call a girl? How did you used to do it?
Oh, all right. You're setting me up for the old landline rotary phone. Yeah, I get it. I never called many girls growing up, but I understand the point. The only girl I ever used to call growing up was my beloved Grandma Sophie. We used to talk all the time. And I remember the old rotary phone. But I get it.
In your house, in our house growing up, we had one phone. Right. It was in our kitchen, in our dining room where we ate at the kitchen table. So anytime somebody would call, you would sit there and you would talk to people, and anybody in the house could hear and overhear your phone conversation.
Right.
You couldn't go anywhere. The longest you could go was however long the cord was.
True.
Now look at where you are today.
Well, back then they didn't have call waiting when I was doing it at the beginning. So when you had a busy signal, you had a busy signal for ages. Couldn't get a hold of nobody. And now, if you can't get a hold of anybody, you got voicemail. Nobody bothers to pick up the phone, but that's another thing.
Well, right. And they used to have, when you used to call, you're right, they didn't have answering machines. Then they got answering machines. Now we have cell phones that have voicemail.
Yeah.
So it's one and the same.
Pretty well equipped.
Isn't it?
Yep.
So tell me, Scott. So you're a writer by trade. You've been writing for years, sports. If you needed to look up how to spell a word, how did you used to do it?
Oh, no question. I utilize a dictionary. I used to use the old typewriter too, if you want to really turn this into a real thing. I remember whiteout, although I still use whiteout to this day. But you had the old typewriter back then. And yes, a dictionary is what I used. And if I needed another word to look up, I used to use thesaurus. Used to be popular with me as well.
Okay, so now how would you do it today?
Well, sure, you go online, you look it up.
You use the internet.
Right, use the internet, and they have those dictionaries. Was it dictionary.com is one of the more common ones that you use to look up a word?
You can just type it into an app if you have an app, or you can just search the internet. You know, Google's our friend, right?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I don't really know what my friend is anymore when it comes to technology.
You don't? Well, I know one that I think is coming down the pipe. I know it's coming down the pipe, and I know for a fact you are going to reject it for as long as you possibly can.
Uh-oh.
The driverless cars.
You know I'll reject that.
I know, but why?
I don't need nobody driving my vehicles. That's what keeps me sane driving on the road. Now, you're right. I will reject it. Now, if you were to tell me that there was a Jetsons automobile, okay, I would definitely embrace that. That way I can just blow people out of the sky as I do on the road. But yeah, the driverless mobile, I need to see that would happen. I don't know. I hope I'm dead when that one happens, because I would resist that change. I struggle these days back in a vehicle up with that TV thing that we have in the vehicle. I'm used to using my head and going over my shoulder, so that's taken me a while to get used to it too. I'm not comfortable with anything I haven't utilized before. But yeah, you are right, Candy. I will really fight that one quite a bit.
I know. Whereas I'm like, bring it on. Let's do it.
Right.
So besides driverless cars, they're talking about having robots that'll help you and do things for you. So right now you can already buy a vacuum cleaner that's a Roomba that vacuums by itself. It doesn't even need you.
Yeah.
Now that technology you're not going to reject, are you?
No. What are they charging for it?
Well, it's coming down in price, but
what was it when you saw it before? Let our listeners and viewers know what it.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know people that have them. So.
Well, I mean, we've seen them at Walmart, right, where you have those things patrolling the aisles. If that's what I think it is.
It's very similar, yes. But yeah.
The only robot I was ever brought up with was Lost in Space many years ago, growing up as a kid. But other than that, robots are a different animal altogether.
So some of the Roombas are anywhere from like $300 on up. So really not that out of line.
Really? That's interesting.
Yes. But can you imagine that you wouldn't have to vacuum the floors? You would let it vacuum for you.
I don't vacuum anyways. We got a housekeeper that does them for us, but I understand your point.
Yes, except for in between when we don't have somebody else. Somebody else has to do that kind of stuff. Scott, what if you would spill today? You're not going to leave it on the floor. You're going to have bugs then, right?
Oh, that's true. I guess you had to do a little bit of work there.
There you go. So how has technology changed as forms of communication? So it's significantly changed. Way back in the day, do you remember writing like little love letters or little notes to girls?
No.
Did you ever go on vacation and write a postcard and send it to a friend?
The only time I ever sent a postcard was when I went to overnight camp. I used to send them to my grandma Sophie. I never used to send that stuff out. I didn't write love letters. Are you kidding? I was later in the game here.
You're late. No. Come on.
I'm not just saying I didn't date anybody here and there until I was a little bit older, but, love letters and all that other business growing up younger, that wasn't my style.
You didn't write any notes and pass them in school and get caught?
No, I never did that at all. I used to skip school instead.
That's
No, I never.
terrible.
I got to tell you, there's certain things I did, and I never did pass notes in school. I actually
Okay.
tried to pay attention as much as I was able to do.
Okay. Well, we've transposed from writing letters to then we got to sending faxes over fax
Right.
machines. And we used to have wired telephones. Then we had car phones. Did you have a car phone?
The first time I ever had a car phone was I was in the home improvement business, and I resisted that change. I didn't want one, but because it was something the company required it, I had to get used to it. Then I didn't mind doing it, so that one took a little while. I figured a phone to me was never meant to have when you were driving. It was always meant to be when you were in a stationary place. So that one took a little while, but when I got one, I understand how important the tool was, and I had no problem. But that was one of those things that just took me a little while to get used to it.
I can imagine. I mean, I remember getting caught writing letters in school or passing notes in school, not necessarily to boys. Could have been to a girlfriend or anything like that. What are you doing this weekend? What should we be doing? Instead of paying attention like I should have been. So now how would you send a note to somebody?
Well, I mean, if you're setting me up for text messages, I might have done that in school years ago because it was a lot easier, and then nobody has to accuse me of bad penmanship, and it'd be a lot easier to not get caught. So yeah, I probably would have gone the text messages route.
Well,
And even then,
I can read your writing in a text message.
well, sure, I would think so. It wasn't you that got insulted in college because the instructor said my penmanship wasn't worth a you know what, and all of a sudden I told her, "Why do you think I go ahead and write and do everything on the computer other ways? Because I have to deal with your stupid insults anyways." But yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah,
so things have changed. So now you use a phone and you can do text messaging.
yeah. And to be honest with you, I hate text messaging too. I like making phone calls. I'm
And
certainly the right person to have on this broadcast, aren't I? Because I'm the ultimate resistor of technology. I grew up in a,
yes, to a certain extent. So besides your smartphone, what other technology do you have that you wear every day?
well, I have my watch.
Okay,
My
but you
Apple Watch.
resist technology.
Yeah, but that's different. When you're counting calories, you embrace that a lot quicker. You remember, I have a $20,000 Rolex watch sitting in a fire safe. Okay, and I'm not wearing it. I figure it'd be worth more to you when you need to cash in on it than a watch here where I can watch my calories. It keeps me alive with you for a while. But yeah, I have to admit I do like the Apple Watch I have. I'm sure I'm due for an upgrade at some point or another, but what I have is working out all right.
So you resist technology, but you have a smartwatch and I don't. So you don't resist technology completely,
No,
only
just
when you
mostly.
don't like it.
Well, there's no love lost. In fact, I don't like it. Every time we have these Zoom meetings with your family, everybody realizes that they're a little bit more with it than I am. I have no bones telling people how much I hate it. Doesn't mean I still have to deal with it, but it doesn't mean I got to like it. I'm not going down quietly. I remember you had a manager with one of your employers that tried to get me to do these deposits electronically. I said, spend time with somebody else. I'm the wrong person to do it. I'm going back to the teller.
Okay, so you're jumping where I was going to go first, but we can go there. So how you bank or how you send money, receive money has changed.
Yeah.
Because yes, I had a manager and they wanted you to use an ATM machine, which is just an automated teller, and you refused. You wanted to go see a live person.
Mm-hmm.
But now you can even use your phone to make a deposit of a check.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, bad chance that'll ever happen.
You don't do the banking in the family anyway.
Well, even if I did, bad chances that would ever happen anyways. I'm not going to do it.
And what about paying bills? How do we pay bills, Scott?
Well, everybody's got to do the old online thing, just transfer one place. I've been able to manage that all right.
So you can pay bills online.
Yeah.
You know that you could wire funds to other people online?
Yeah, well, they used to do that. Yeah, I know that. I remember years ago, you used to be able to wire funds all over the place, whether it's, wire transfers have always been popular, just a lot easier to do nowadays.
They are. And you know that watch that you wear?
Yeah.
You can actually download your debit card to your watch and use it in an ATM machine. Or you can pay for your Subway.
Well, I haven't had it in a while, but okay, I get your point.
So technology has really advanced. So let's say you ran out to do an errand and all of a sudden you need gas and you don't have your wallet with you. What are you going to do, Scott?
I'm in trouble.
You're in trouble, but if you had downloaded your card onto your watch, you could use your watch to pay for your gas.
True, but I'd still be in trouble. My main objective is just make sure there's enough gas in the tank and not have to worry about it.
I understand, but it's changed a lot of things. You talked about watch and you count calories. You use it to count calories and you remove calories, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it tracks your steps. So it's health. It helps you monitor health-wise.
Right.
So for seniors, it would be great because it could monitor your blood pressure. It could hold all that information and you can download it right to your doctor.
Right.
That you never used to be able to do that.
No, that's true. I'm not saying there's no use for it. It takes me a little while to get used to it forever. That's all. I'm one of those keep it simple, stupid. All of a sudden technology means, to me, isn't quite keep it simple, stupid in my eyes. That doesn't mean that the average person out there won't see it otherwise. It's just I'm an old school individual that's set in my ways.
I understand. Mr. Old School, how many times a day do you check Facebook or Twitter?
Well, Facebook not as much, Twitter a lot more because I'm forced to use it to promote the business.
So, but that was something that 20 years ago didn't even exist. So
True.
Think how your industry has changed and how the industry has changed with the use of the internet.
Well, there's no denying that.
So did you ever used to use social media before?
I don't think I've been involved with social media more than 10 or 12 years. So other than that, I could really care less about it. I only do it because I have to, not because I want to. If it were up to me, I'd go back to the old-fashioned way.
What's the old-fashioned way?
Making phone calls and just getting together with people and forget the rest of it. I'm a private person.
You are?
I am a very private person.
Okay, so how many video calls do you make nowadays?
Well, it's different. It's part of the business. It's part of business. I don't know. If you're asking me for an over-under, I don't know, 2, 3. I don't know who's counting after a while. Take the Miami Marlins. I learned much quicker with them along with networking meetings.
I was just going to ask you about networking during this pandemic. How has the internet changed your networking?
How it means is if it were $15 a gallon, it wouldn't make any difference because you're not going to spend the money if you're doing it through teleconferencing.
So what are some of the platforms that you've used for teleconferencing?
Well, WebEx is what I'm taking a little while to get used to with Zoom for sure. I mean, it's taking a little while, but now I enjoy it. I embrace it. And I definitely know that it's a tool that I can use to grow this brand without a doubt. And now I'm seeing how it's utilized in a lot of ways. So it's safe to say Zoom isn't going anyplace.
No, it's not. And we were talking about counting calories and using your watch. Some medical alert companies now are they have apps that they could download into your smartwatch to help provide safety for seniors right on their wrist. Well, that's pretty cool. What that is allowing seniors to do is to stay in their home longer and be independent longer than they used to years and years ago.
Right.
Which is cool. So tell me, we talked about banking online. Now talk a little bit about how technology has changed how we watch TV.
In what sense?
So growing up, how many TV stations did you have?
Well, yeah, I had it a little different than you. I think we had 6 or 7 because I had Channel 9 in Windsor, Canada, so that helped us get Hockey Night in Canada. So I had a little something over you people in Wisconsin, Indiana, wherever you're from. Just teasing you. But we had like 6 or 7. Now you have hundreds and thousands. There's no
So
question.
you have the major networks.
Yeah, and a few extra.
And a few extras. So then in came the cable companies, and now you have cable.
Right.
And from there, now you can even stream or watch things. They have what's called smart TVs. So now you can just use your app, project something onto your TV screen and watch it right over the internet, and you don't even need the cable.
Well, that's above my pay grade. I leave it to the people. I leave it to the people who know how to figure this stuff out. I never even knew what high definition was before.
Well, and you can stream things like there's Amazon Prime Video, there's Netflix, there's Hulu. Now there's even Disney Plus.
Well, and they have a YouTube. They have YouTube TV. I mean, there's no question that when you start dropping satellites up in space, the potential is unlimited to do stuff, and that's where the technology is heavily affected by it. But yeah, I mean, the first time I ever saw cable was in 1979 when I was up in East Lansing, Michigan. I was hanging up with some friends over at Michigan State University, and that's when I saw ESPN. I said, "Oh, this cable thing's pretty interesting." So, but that's when I first learned about it, and and as time goes on, you grow with it. You really do.
I remember watching MTV in the beginning.
Did you?
When they were first doing videos, and you could listen to the music with the videos. I remember that. I remember ESPN. I remember watching movies, being able to have movies on TV at home as opposed to just the Disney movie that was on Sunday night. Remember growing up, Sunday night, there always was a Disney movie on ABC?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember satellite TV too. My dad used to get dishes out there when you couldn't get cable. So, there's no question that between satellite TV, streaming, and everything you got going on now, it's enough to drive anybody crazy. My poor grandma Sophie, she had to deal with all this chaos. She would just be turning her head. But, the reality is the situation that we're in 2020.
We are, and we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
So one of the nice features is so many seniors that do live in senior communities, and they weren't allowed to go out. They weren't allowed to see anybody, interact with people on a one-on-one basis, but they can use their smartphones to do video conferencing. I know we've talked about our family, my side of the family, we do Zoom calls. So that means anyone that's available on certain nights, typically Sunday night, is family night, and we all get on a Zoom call and we talk, see how life is going. And it actually, I think, has brought us closer because most of my family, well, all of my family except for you, live out of state. So it's kind of nice to be able to see, we have a 2-year-old nephew.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been able to watch him grow where we might not, when we go and visit him, we only visit him, maybe if we're lucky once, twice a year. But during this stage of his life, he's growing faster and faster.
Well, not lose sight of the fact that FaceTime has enabled me and you and see my mother, who unfortunately isn't in the best of health these days. But without FaceTime, would be limited to phone calls. So I certainly can embrace that kind of thing, and it's something that it's not going away.
It's not. And for me, as much as we want to reluctancy sometimes in change, sometimes it's for the good. I mean, let's face it, nowadays.
But sometimes you have to wonder whether technology will make you lazy too. You can't lose sight of the fact that. So I think one of the declines in one of my networking groups is there's a lack of face-to-face meetings, but yet you have no choice. It's either do that or you run yourself get the risk of a potential medical thing called COVID-19. So you're in a catch-22 in that sense. But yeah, you're right.
So growing up, going to school, did you ever have to read books?
Only when I had to, not because I wanted to.
Mr. Writer didn't want to read books. But you did. Like for school, there were certain books that were required to read, and you'd have to go either to the library or go someplace and purchase a book, and it was a hardcover book most of the time, sometimes a soft covered, but it was a physical book that you would take and you would read and turn the pages one by one.
Yep.
Nowadays,
Yep.
You remember those days? Nowadays, how are people reading things?
Wow.
They have devices like Kindle or Nooks.
That's true, but then again, you talk about the way people go to education these days. I could never take online classes. I had to be in a classroom. That's the only way that I can interact with the teacher as well. I mean, it would be hard for me to ever take an online class, and chances of me doing it are probably next to nothing. Not to say, to me, it's just not my style. But I can certainly appreciate why they do it more so nowadays. You have to take remote classes because of good old COVID-19. But I was never an online class type of person anyhow. I had to be physically at the classroom, so if I had a question or two, then I would be able to address it right then and there instead of having to raise my hand. That raise your hand business is a little hard for me on the technology side too. But you do what you have to do.
I understand. Now let's switch gears a little bit more. When you were young, and now I want you to think back when you were in like grade school,
Mm-hmm.
and you wanted to listen to music, how would you do it?
Well, I had cassette tapes. I had 8-track tapes.
Before them.
Well,
Because you were old enough, come on.
Through transistor radios and AM/FM radio.
Okay. And then did you ever buy records?
Yeah, a few here and there. I never had many records.
Okay. So do you remember the small records?
And the 45s.
The 45s, and then we went to the
bigger ones.
The bigger ones. And I remember even before 8-track tapes, the old wheels that had the tapes on them that my dad would have. And then we would go to 8-track. Then we went to cassette tapes. Then we went from that to CDs. And now what are we doing?
Well, satellite radio.
Okay, satellite radio. What else? What do you have that you listen to that you were playing when you would do your walks?
Yeah, I mean, I have a YouTube playlist for sure, and I like to listen to those on the road. So if you don't want to spend money for satellite radio, you just go ahead and listen to your YouTube favorites, and off you go.
So you have thousands of artists at your fingertips, whereas way back in the day, you used to buy a whole record and it would have, I don't know, 7, 8 songs on it, but it was all by the same artist for the most part. Now you can go, oh, I want to listen to this song by this person and that song by that person.
Right. Well, yeah, definitely a variety of ways to do it. You don't have to be limited to one. But I still like the old thing where you have one artist have a lot of the same songs and play it cassette. But I can only imagine how many cassettes I have laying around wherever I've got them. But that was another lifetime ago, and you appreciate the old thing. I mean, geez, you want to go that far technology-wise? The difference between a black and white TV and a color TV and all this high-definition stuff. Like, seriously.
That's true. So, Scott, how did we meet?
Online.
That was something that was technology that wasn't when we were growing up.
No, that's true. I mean, back then the bars or being blind dates were certainly a lot more common practice. Or if you're a high school sweetheart or whatever, but certainly not online.
Or a friend would maybe set you up with somebody.
So I said a blind date.
Correct. But now you can date and find matches online.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It's common. Not to say that people aren't lying, but I like your chances of being able to open up a little bit more when you think you have common ground. It takes you a little while to do it, but yeah, that's true. Worked out pretty well, I would say so.
I'd say it gave me my husband.
Yeah, gave me my wife. I got it right the second time. Knock on wood.
There you go. There you go. So I know you talked a little bit about last week's program about this, but I want you to kind of to go back to last week's program.
Sure.
How has technology changed the home that we live in and the security of the home that we live in?
Well, sure, you're going to a lot more digital devices to be able to program alarm systems and whatnot. You know, you're using technology, whether it's for an electronic application to apply for, I don't care if it's a media credential, whether it's to handle your alarm systems. I mean, everybody gets so engrossed and swelled into technology that we're all late. We're all lazy by habit nowadays because technology enables you to be that way when it's working right. Meanwhile, when it's not working right, then that thing called heart attack comes into play, and then you go absolutely crazy. And then,
well, is it when it's not working right, or when you don't know how to use it properly?
I would say it's a combination of both. I'm not going to wait. Hey, listen, I give you straight honesty, being blunt, and all that stuff. I'm waiting to see a robot go ahead and negotiate with a car salesperson before he runs out of battery. And that's
you're not going to need to negotiate because you have car vending machines now.
Maybe, but I enjoy the negotiation. I like making these clowns crazy when it's over with. The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat when I get through with these people.
Let's face it, these days you can have an app on your phone if you have a smart house where you can control the temperature, you can control the garage door, which that feature I think is really nice because let's face it, I don't know about you, but I'm one of those neurotic, did I or didn't I do something that I should have done? So like as I leave the house, did I close the garage door? Did I close it? Well, is my husband still left in there? If he is, okay, it's not that big of a deal. But if he's not, I have to go back and check it. Whereas if I had the security feature, I could look on my phone. Oh, the door is closed. Oh, the door is open. Let me close it from my phone. So for security, things have really changed, and it's kind of some nice features.
Right.
It might not be features we use yet, but that doesn't mean.
Well, everybody knows that you can go ahead and lock and unlock your home by utilizing your phone. I mean, you know, we could turn this on a 50-episode broadcast if you want to talk about every knick-knack, paddywhack, give technology a bone. I mean, I get that. I mean, with all due respect. But, you know, I mean, let's face the reality. I do spend a lot of time on social media trying to promote the brand. It does take time, whether it's emailing. I don't like emailing either. I really hate it. I used to like sending the letters out there, drop them off the post office, they get there. But unfortunately, in this day and age, you have to do that to get quick answers. And everything is all done with suddenness nowadays to get what you have to go. And either you go ahead and embrace it or technology is going to pass you by. It's like missing the bus at school. If you can't get on the bus, you better find an alternative way. And at this point, I understand it. So I treat it like a challenge. Technology to me is like silly putty. You get to play with it 9 million times.
But it's created so many amazing tools and resources, right, and put so much useful information right at our fingertips.
No question about it.
It's paved the way to allow us different ways to communicate and communicate quicker than we ever used to.
Right.
Let's face it, if I wanted to send a birthday card to my sister who lives how many states away, I would, go to the store, pick out a card, write it up, put a stamp on it, put it out in my mailbox. The mailman would have to take that card, then go take it back to the post office. It would have to get shipped to where it's supposed to go. Then the mailman would take it, put it in their mailbox. Then she would open it. And that would take days upon days. Remember?
Right.
Remember when we send out our wedding invitations, how long some of those took?
I'd prefer not to remember that.
That was crazy.
I do know Amazon has wiped out the retail business and all that, so everything's being shipped. I mean, you could go 9 million different angles, but, conveniences are what they are. The only time you ever go into a store these days is where the strip malls. A lot of them are gone. I mean, nowadays you go to Walmart, Target, and a lot of those types of stores to get pretty much a one-stop shop to get what you basically need. Amazon and all the other places are pick up the slack to get what you've got to do. But you still can't take away the human element, even though in a lot of ways technology would like to think you can do that.
I understand. So, final thoughts on technology, Scott?
Oh, it's a love-hate relationship with me. There's no question about it. I hate technology, but you know what? I'm in deep trouble without it. And I understand it. So I relish the challenge of doing what I've got to do. I guess if there's one thing I really enjoyed about technology, it's being able to do these broadcasts this way so everybody's visual and they don't have to, listen to the audio side. So I really enjoy that part of the whole thing, being able to connect with people all over the world, all over the country, and be able to put together the best programming that I can in ways that nobody ever thought you would do. So, you know what? It's okay. I have no problem with it. Again, I'm not the only individual who's over 50 that's taken a while to catch on to this and try to build their following. I'm definitely not alone in this whole sense. You want to talk about the words misery breeds company. This is one way I could definitely utilize it for sure.
I agree. Technology, some people would say, is a necessary evil. I would just tell people, embrace technology, but also be careful how you use it, because it can come back to bite you. Because everything you put out there now is out there for everybody.
Yeah, don't press the send button. The one thing you've definitely taught me a lot of is I've toned down my social media in certain aspects in terms of being personal on Facebook. I only utilize it to either connect with friends out of state to hopefully catch up with them at some point or another, like I did early in the year in LA, and promote the broadcast. Otherwise, I think sometimes technology is more trouble than it's worth. You just have to know what the purpose is. So yeah, you've definitely taught me quite a bit in that area. And I'm thankful that I took your comments to heart and mind and used it for what I think it's really worth. You have to be careful what you say out there. When you're on the air, you better make sure your mic is not hot. Otherwise, you'll find yourself in a situation that's really regrettable, and it's hard to fix those errors.
And nowadays, employers are Googling everybody before they, hire them. They go online, they look at their social media accounts, they look to see what they're saying, because if they don't line up with the principles of what they want the company's personnel to represent, they won't hire you.
Well, rightfully so. They should.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we don't do here at the Tribune here is we don't talk about politics or religion. Have I had a show or two here and there where I had a guest that maybe expressed a few more views? Yeah, but not to a point where we drew the line where it got way, way out of control. I'm not going to mention any names. I really don't care. It's not applicable for what we're talking about. But yeah, nowadays you're scrutinized. You're Googled. Everybody can find anything they want about you, and it takes them all of seconds to do it. So technology certainly, does that for you. You get credit checks on individuals, background checks through technology. So the tools are there in place to make sure that you minimize mistakes in terms of how you handle overall daily life.
Well, Scott, it's been fun talking and reminiscing about how technology has changed our lives and how prevalent it and how impactful it is in our current life. Yep. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I enjoyed doing all these broadcasts. Candy No Limits is certainly a broadcast. It's a brainchild of our own, but everything that we do is certainly, building itself up to a way where we know that we're using 2020 to try to adjust the technology so we make ourselves a lot stronger in 2021. If you want to hear the audio version of No Limits, feel free to do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Let me repeat that again. You can find us audio-wise, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. In terms of following us on social media, lots of ways to do it, and lots of efficient ways to do it. You can go to Twitter and follow us at Tribune South. That's at Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, go ahead and like us over there. You'll get updates, YouTube channel for which this broadcast No Limits is on. And so go ahead and subscribe to that. If you subscribe to it, we'll make it very well worth your while, because the current shows that we have right now are the Sports Exchange, No Limits, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, Real and the Rare, Fantasy Football, and the South Florida Tribune Podcast. So with one subscribe, you get lots of broadcast available to you. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. You can find the Motor City Monitor on there, where we go ahead and update people with a lot of the doings back in my hometown of Detroit. We have our media distribution partners who provide us with great content, as well as our columnists. And more importantly, you can find all of our broadcasts under the WSAN dropdown. Our email address is southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Feel free to contact us with any suggestions, feedback, and whatnot. We'll get back to you as well. And of course, you can connect with me, Scott Morgenroth, on LinkedIn. So lots of ways to get a hold of us. I enjoy trying to build this platform. Candy, my eternal thanks to you. You're the brainchild. Without you, the South Florida Tribune would not be relevant, because you not only are a wonderful photographer, but the way you put the broadcast on the website, and more importantly, the way you have constructed this website from the ground up. Well, we would be nothing without the diligence that you go out there, Candy. So God bless. We appreciate you being a really big part of the team. So,
well, thank you. It's a dream of yours, and we want to keep it growing. So, everybody, please listen, like, share, download, subscribe, listen to the different broadcasts. You're bound to stumble on one you're gonna love.
Yep. All right, Candy, why don't you go ahead and give the COVID message before we finish the broadcast?
So everybody, mask up. Take COVID-19 seriously. It's nothing to joke about. You can be walking around and have it and spread it to other people, and you don't even know. And people don't assume that everybody is
doing the right thing.
Doing the right thing. Just do the right thing. Wear your mask. Social distance. Be vigilant. Wash your hands. Do all those things. Do it for you, but do it for everybody else that you love as well.
Let's not kid yourself, folks. The President of the United States had COVID-19. If you didn't take it seriously before, I'm not saying you didn't, having it certainly woke him up a little bit. And there are a lot of people. The last count I heard, there were 200,000 deaths as a result of COVID-19, and a lot of diagnoses around the world. I believe the total was 7 million at last I had heard, but regardless, any amount would be too many to begin with. So, any final thoughts, Candy?
Everybody be safe out there.
All right, so on behalf of Candace Ebling, my name is Scott Morgenroth, the Motor City Manmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of No Limits, and we will catch you next week. Good night, be safe, and have a great weekend, folks. Bye-bye.